Hello, my name is Jacob Bennett, and this is my Conflict Management Improvement Plan. This will be looking at the dyads from the film He's Just Not That Into You, and we'll be going over each one, just showing what the conflict was and how certain steps could be taken to resolve those conflicts. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So starting with Gigi and Alex's relationship, we actually see the conflict develop halfway through the film, and this is because of two factors here. The first one is that there is a miscommunication between these two characters about the expectations of their relationship, and this occurs both on a verbal level as well as a non-verbal level. These characters also have conflicting ideals about how relationships should be handled and how expressive one should be with their emotions and their intentions when engaging in romance. The first way that we can help these two individuals get over their conflict is helping them better understand each other through collaboration. This, in terms of conflict resolution, is usually what we strive for as the highest level, being able to resolve an issue since it leaves both parties fairly happy. Right now, we do see there's a lack of communication and there's miscommunication between these two, so we would need to strengthen that. Both of these characters would need to work together to better understand each other's ideals when it comes to romance and relationship. While Gigi feels on one part that it is better to wear your heart on your sleeve and risk being hurt as the only way to gain that true relationship is through risk, Alex has a competing belief that it is better to care less and thus having more of an advantage in the relationship or more power since you're able to act more rationally. But both of these characters have valid points. If they're able to work together and collaborate on these ideals, they can reach sort of equilibrium where they can still be honest about how they feel, but knowing that if they need to walk away from it, they're not so attached that they can't do that. The next step that these two would need to take is practicing on understanding, learning how to understand not just verbal communication, but the subtext underneath it, as well as nonverbal communication. In the hands of Gigi, she misinterprets Alex's actions as romantic interest. Throughout the course of their relationship, she refers to some of his kinder acts as signs that he's interested in a relationship, but rather she should be looking more holistically at everything that's happening and taking a step back to view it from a realistic perspective. Alex, on the other hand, he misses signs that Gigi is showing that she is interested in having a relationship with him, and instead of addressing that and being honest with her, he doesn't see it, he ignores those nonverbal cues. So both of them have chances here to improve their nonverbal communication. The next relationship and conflict that we'll look at here is between Neil and Beth. These two characters have had the longest relationship out of any of the other relationships, and their main conflict is about the prospect of marriage. On one hand, Beth believes that getting married is the only way to ensure commitment and a future with her partner. She was convinced throughout the course of the film that anything less would end in the relationship falling apart. On Neil's hand, he argued that being committed to someone doesn't mean having to get married. You can still have a healthy, loving relationship even if you don't marry a person. So both of these people are very rigid in their systems of belief. So I believe that one of the most effective ways for them to resolve this conflict would be compromise, since neither one of them felt the need to do that in the beginning. Their relationship did end for a period, but if there was some time taken for both of them to show some sort of sacrifice in their beliefs, then they could come to some sort of agreement. While Beth may believe that the only way to have a healthy relationship and a long-lasting relationship is to get married, she's able to compromise on her ideals that she has been happy with her husband or with her boyfriend for some time without being married. She can see Neil's point of view. And Neil, on one hand, if he's able to let go of some of his ideals and understand how important marriage is to Beth, then he may decide that it wouldn't be so bad just to have a courthouse marriage or something to that effect, just to do something that means a lot to her. This is somewhat of a proactive method of resolution, but it is also important at any stage of the conflict, and that's open communication. The initial conflict starts because of this disagreement about marriage. Beth, she waited to be open with her communication because she had this idea that Neil was going to change his mind after a certain amount of time. And during that time, while she's waiting and thinking that he'll change his mind, all those feelings are just building up on top of each other, and it's creating more conflict until it ultimately reaches a head where they split. Instead of covering up feelings or pretending to not have feelings about something, it's important to be open with someone that you're communicating with. Even if there's not a conflict, it's important to have open communication, but especially in this context, you want to be honest and upfront about your feelings so that the most important information is up front. All right, our next relationship is Ben and Janine. And these two characters are the only ones that are married in the film. And they have recently bought a house together that they're renovating and remodeling. But a conflict arises during this time because Ben has an affair with another woman. And now this act is the breaking of trust. And Janine definitely feels betrayed as she finds out about this affair. She definitely wants to continue on with the relationship and make it work, but she has a lot of difficulty trusting Ben after this point. Ben himself, he feels this need to have an affair as a sense of gaining back some freedom, since he felt like he didn't really have a choice in marrying Janine and that he was more so obligated to do so. In this case of a long-term committed relationship where the couple is married, one of the conflict resolutions that I would offer is couples therapy for these two. Janine definitely does want to keep the marriage going, and it does seem that Ben on some level does as well, though I can't really speak to his commitment since it is sort of vague. But after the affair, Janine doesn't really skip a beat in wanting to continue the marriage, so in order to make that work, they would need to both go to counseling separately and then together, because affairs can be very damaging to a relationship and to trust, which is also very important. So they need to go to a space where they can both be acknowledged in the part that they played in the relationship and in the breaking of the relationship. And moving forward in resolving this conflict is about taking responsibility for one's actions, acknowledging each other, and ultimately building that trust again through forgiveness. Now, on the other hand, with this relationship especially, Ben continues to have an affair after he tells Janine about it and says that he won't do it again, but he still continues to do it. And Janine, being the type of person that trust is very, very important to her, this would be an opportunity for her to walk away from the situation. And sometimes that is the best way to deal with a conflict. If it is going to continue being toxic or damaging to you, you have to know when to cut your losses and just step away from it if it's going to damage you further. In this instance, Janine was blaming herself for the situation. Her attitude was getting worse. She was becoming distrustworthy. She was becoming untrusting of other people around her that she would lash out at that really didn't have anything to do with her situation, and she could see her mental state sort of deteriorating. So now we get to see the other side of it, Ben and his relationship with Anna, the woman that he had the affair with. So after engaging in this affair, there was actually conflict that arose between these two as well after Ben mistreats Anna. He actually hides her in a closet from his wife, which signals to Anna that he still cares more about Janine than he does about her, and that he doesn't see a serious future with Anna, just more sort of a fling. Again, we're going to see an important way to resolve a conflict is through open communication. Ben and Anna are a very poor example of communication, as they don't speak honestly to each other about most things, and they keep a lot on the surface level. To be able to resolve this type of conflict where feelings aren't being mutually expressed and shared, that open communication definitely needs to occur. Anna has expectations and feelings of love towards Ben, but she never really fully expresses them, and Ben never fully expresses his intention of what he's trying to get out of the relationship, which is just a way to express freedom away from his marriage. These two individuals would also greatly benefit from self-reflection, and that's something that that happens and can help in resolving a conflict. Understanding your place in the conflict as well, not just the other person that may be antagonizing you, but what you're bringing to the table that causes conflict to happen. Both of these characters are engaging in activity that they know themselves to be wrong, but they're trying to justify their desires. Anna has unrealistic expectations of Ben, and Ben is using Anna for his own sexual gain. So both of these characters need to take time to reflect on their own actions to see what they could do differently moving forward. So once out of that relationship with Ben, Anna moves into a sort of relationship with Connor, but there is a conflict there as well that has been persisting through the time that they've known each other, just in the sense that Connor has strong romantic feelings for Anna, but she doesn't feel the same way about Connor, but she uses those feelings that he has to sort of make herself feel better when she isn't getting attention from Ben, or she's just trying to go through the motions with Connor for the sake of appearances. It is so important that both of these characters are able to be honest almost immediately, if not right away, that what their intentions are and their expectations of a relationship are. Anna isn't clear about her intentions, which causes constant confusion and anxiety for Connor. Something that he goes through throughout the film of just not knowing what signal she's sending to him, if they should be in a relationship or if they shouldn't. That kind of leaves him in this limbo state. Instead, Anna would need to take responsibility and establish early on that she's not interested in pursuing a romantic relationship. And at that point, it would be up to Connor what level of maturity he wants to express and continue on with a friendship with her, or if he feels like that's not possible, then he would just be able to move away from that. By moving away from that, I mean avoidance, which is going to be the last strategy here. This is typically seen as something selfish to do, and you're just trying to get away from a situation. But the way that Connor was trying to keep Anna in his life was ultimately causing more stress emotionally and confusion, rather than getting anything very beneficial out of the relationship. So it could be potentially better for him to distance himself from Anna until he's able to just accept her as a friend and get rid of those romantic feelings or let them pass. This is the reference page. This is the end. I know there is one more dyad between Connor and Mary, but quite honestly, I could not find a way to make a conflict between them. I didn't see a conflict between them in the film, so I didn't want to just put something arbitrary in this presentation. If there was something that I missed, I'll definitely own up to that and accept any sort of docking of points, but I did just want to make it clear I did leave it out intentionally. Other than that, I do appreciate you taking the time to view this and review my conflict resolution presentation. Thank you.